So I'm currently at orange.
Yeah.
So you press that once.
And then shift it.
Green.
Oh, look at that.
Blue.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
All the way through.
I kind of like the orange though.
Orange.
Okay.
Some of them are a bit flashy.
So there's all kinds of reasons to have a CB radio, and I have a previous video on why you should have a CB radio in your vehicle, but this is our CB base station. And so I've got the 16.5-foot antenna out here, and this is going into our home, and I'm going to show you this in just a moment. I'll drop a link for these things down below. But there's a reason for this, is because with a taller antenna, you can transmit, receive for a farther distance. And so what I'm going to do is take you inside, and actually my son, because he's a ham radio operator, he's got his license, he's going to be explaining a new CB radio that we have. It's called the President George, a very popular CB radio, very high quality one compared to what we have in several other places around our home and our vehicles. So we'll take you inside, we'll show you that one. All right, so I'm in a room in my home that is near that antenna. I'm with my son. This is his, I'm gonna call it a control center, and you're gonna see why. Here's the Midland. So this is the one that we installed in my truck right here. There's just another one, so we've got a couple of these. And obviously there's a big difference just looking at it between this Midland right here and the President George. So here it is. So let's go ahead and turn it on and get going with this. All right, so just basic kind of question here. Why would someone pay more money for something like this, the President George, compared to the Midland? Because this thing is like, I don't know how much that is, probably like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 bucks, something like that. This is a lot more. So why spend more money for something like this compared to that?
First one would be the quality of build.
Okay.
Midland for any radio.
Kind of base level.
Is just the
Okay.
basic of basic.
Okay.
So the build will be much better with this one. It'll obviously have more features. This one is just kind of as basic as you can get. This one also has more user-friendly interface.
Okay. So it's more intuitive.
So without having to use
Here's
instructions.
The instruction manual. It's a little booklet.
If you don't want to read the entire instruction manual, then you can figure it out. And also this one, it just has more features. The sound quality is better.
Okay.
The strength is better. It has several modes. So it's got let's start at the very beginning. There's AM right here.
So that's one thing this one has that the other one doesn't. Obviously AM, FM, right?
So AM and
FM.
then you have FM.
Which this one does not have.
This one I'm pretty sure is only upper sideband, which is USB.
Okay.
Make it confusing.
Okay.
It's not USB like USB port. It's upper sideband.
Yeah. It does have a USB right here.
It has charging right there.
Charging.
And then it has lower sideband.
The other thing you were saying though about this, the President George compared to like a Midland or other ones, is that you can actually tell the actual frequency on here, which you can't do with those, right?
Yeah, so this one is actually just a 14 segment display.
Okay.
So this has 2 digits for the 2 channel numbers. That's it. That's
for the CB channel numbers. That's it.
For the CB channel numbers.
This will actually tell you the actual channel right here.
Channel
you can see it's 6 right here.
Right.
And then also down below,
you have the frequency.
See the frequency right
there. So that's 27.050 megahertz.
Okay.
So it's definitely more exact. It has all of the different components like gain. So everything from this little microphone to the antenna all has gain. So depending on how well everything is matched to the radio, then that's how much gain. Okay. So when you transmit, I'm actually going to turn this off here. When you transmit, and if you transmit without antenna, that will mess up your radio. But when you transmit, see, here's your RF power bar right here. I have it set very low. And then you have your mic gain. So that's
Okay.
the level of gain.
And on the mic,
on
you
this.
actually have a channel. You can actually control up and down the channel
So
on there, right?
when I press up on the screen, it goes to 7,
Okay.
6.
That's kind of nice.
6 is just an ordinary truck driver
Gotcha.
channel.
Okay, so on here, what's this top
So
reading right here?
This top reading is just activity on the channel, so you can see there's lots of activity. I have the volume turned down.
Yeah.
But
okay,
that one has the most activity, almost 24 hours.
All right, so tell me some of the features of this one that
So-
people are interested in the President George.
One is CTC or DCS tones.
Okay.
And so those tones are subaudible tones that can be used for privacy on a channel to a certain extent. So you set a tone, I may show you that in a minute. Basically, you set your tone and your friend or whatever set his tone as well. Okay, so you can talk like normal. Like if no one had a tone, you could talk the same as if you had a tone, as long as they're matched.
Okay.
But someone without a tone comes in, he's listening to your
Conversation,
all of that. He can listen in. No matter what you do on this radio and many others, he can listen in no matter what. But the thing CTCS tones do is when he transmits, if he wants to interfere in the conversation, you won't receive it.
Okay. So this is a big difference between some of the cheaper models like this Midland right here and this, is that you can have, as it were, a private, not private, but you can have a dedicated tone within the channel, each channel, that, let's say you're with your work crew guys, you're on your homestead, and you just want to communicate with your people and no one else. Or let's say you're in a caravan with other drivers, on a road trip or something, and you just want to communicate just within your own group of people and not have interference from other people. That's what that's for.
Right.
So
Right.
other people can still hear you, is the point.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to be able to interfere with your conversation. Is that right?
So
Okay.
the truck drivers, this is the truck driver channel. I'm listening in. They probably have a CTCSS tone.
Okay.
And so if I transmit, they probably will not receive that. They probably have a CTCSS tone just so that they don't get confused and all of that.
Right.
And if they don't, they should.
All right, so show me some of the key features, just so people can know.
One of them,
other than what we've talked about.
One of them would be the voice. So when you have, so I'm turning up the volume here, you can clarify the voice with NRC. It eliminates a good amount of the static noise.
Okay.
There's different ways you can do that. Lots of different functions for that particular setting. There's also, like we said, the CTCSS tones, but there's also a clarifier down here.
Okay.
So when you use a noise canceling piece, you may or may not need to clarify it.
Gotcha.
On certain modes like lower sideband or upper sideband, it may add some noise in the hearing range, meaning that you may get a high-pitched sound if you turn it up too high.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. There's lots of different monitors. There's also PA. I'm not exactly sure what that stands for.
Yeah, I don't know what it stands for, but I know what it is. So basically, guys, if you got a PA system on your vehicle or something, then you can push and hold the mode, and it'll go to PA setting.
Yeah, so this radio right here, I can actually plug in with the PA, and I have a dual speaker setup on this one, and so I can connect this to here.
Yeah.
One thing is you cannot transmit on PA setting. Like all radios, it has the squelch, so it has the double knob right here. So the back one is the squelch.
Okay.
And so when you're scanning for different channels, which is this button right here, so currently, let's turn the volume up a bit so I can tell. So you turn up the squelch.
Turn up a little bit more so that we can
Let's
hear
go
it.
to a different channel. So you turn the squelch until it cuts off the noise, okay?
Okay.
So the squelch just sets the level of how much noise you are getting. So currently my squelch is set for about right here on the display. Because it's cutting out most of it, but not all of it. So when I hit scan, it'll scan through. If I get these, it'll scan through.
See how it's scanning right there?
Until it gets a signal that is higher than what your squelch is set to.
Oh, okay.
So currently my squelch is set
pretty high. Yeah. So if you set it lower, then you would get more people, you'd hear more traffic on the channels.
Right. This does also have weather alerts.
Okay, so like emergency weather kind of stuff.
Right. So you can change.
Flooding rivers. Here we go.
There's all different sound functions. This USB port right here that's covered by that little green tab. You can just plug in your device on that.
Okay.
I currently just have this connected to a 12-volt
All right,
battery.
so big picture here. Obviously, we've got a CB radio in my truck, and we've used that on a trip or two. But here, to have something like this as a home base station with that longer antenna, something like that, I mean, what's a reason to have something at home?
The whole idea of CB is like community band.
Okay.
So that's literally what CB stands for.
Okay.
So anybody can use something like this.
Okay.
So no matter...
It's more accessible for a lot more people.
For anybody.
Okay.
Anybody. So there's no age limit, nothing like that. So basically, one of the reasons to have this in your home and not just in vehicles, all of that.
Yeah.
Number one is that if you want to talk to someone who's in a vehicle, you don't want to have to get in your vehicle if you're not already going to. I mean, that's one of the more obvious points.
So if they're in their vehicle, you don't have to go out to your vehicle. So it's raining outside. You don't have to go out to your vehicle in the driveway and talk to them. You can just do that from your home.
Right. And this one with the longer antenna, this one has more power than something like this in a vehicle. So having a base station, it's good to have a base station for almost any type of radio, somewhere that someone will be on.
Yeah.
And you know that is a reliable connection.
All right, and speaking of that, maybe one last feature we can talk about before we end this is that this can actually monitor a couple of different channels, right?
Right. So
which is nice.
Right.
To have that ability, because sometimes, I mean, you're telling me earlier that, if you want to be monitoring your friends, family that are on one channel, but you don't want to have to just stick to that one channel. You want to go to other channels to kind of explore, see what else is on, what other traffic or conversations
Or if you have other friends on different frequencies.
Or they're different frequencies and channels.
For different caravans, whatever.
Yeah. So that's something you can do with this, the President George, and not with something like that. So I think that's one of the big things I would see.
Yeah. So being able to monitor two channels is very helpful in ways like if you have two different caravans, you're the leader, or you're a base station like this, and you're trying to direct them, go here, you go here, you go there.
And I could also see something like this. Let's say you're a contractor and you got your kind of headquarters, you're contracting at the site, the job site, and you've got a framing crew going and you've got another crew doing something else. You can actually communicate between each different crew on their own separate, kind of DCS, whatever, tone, I should say.
Right.
and that way you can kind of keep their instructions separate.
Right. So you cannot monitor 2 different tones at the same time.
Okay.
Except if you have that specifically set for this frequency and this frequency.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if you say channel 10,
yeah,
you can't have one DCS CTS tone and then another one. You can't monitor both of them at the same time.
Okay.
So I mean that's not really a big
but you
necessity.
can still hear the 2 different
right
channels from 2 different
sure.
people, or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, it gives you the status of all the here. You can also change your output power. I'm not sure what the max output power is, so right now I'm transmitting.
Yeah.
This is my RF power, so this is radio frequency. And you click this knob here, and you can go up to different powers. You can see that power level going up all the way to max.
Okay.
Okay, and then RF is, like right now it's not sensing my voice. Like you can tell nothing is I'm not getting sensed. But now you can see that I'm talking into this.
Okay, can see. And that's really nice to be able to see all of that on the display.
Right.
And this also has different colors, right?
Right. So
you can change if you don't like the orange, like in your room, or as it were at your control center.
Right. So you get to menu. There's tons and tons and tons of menu settings.
Okay.
You press and hold the channel knob. So this is the channel knob clarifier. The back one on this is the squelch, and then volume.
Yeah.
So press and hold. Here. Okay. Now here are your settings. So there's tons here. Color. So I'm currently but to exit menu, you can either hit PTT, push to talk here, or you can just hit that again. It does actually give you a voltage reading. So currently this battery, according to this, is 12.4 volts.
So you have it plugged into this battery here?
I have it plugged into this battery. I just used some jumper cables. It gives you the reading.
Yeah.
This cannot handle more than 16 volts. So if you have a really overcharged 12-volt battery or something else not as common,
then don't do that.
Then don't do that.
Yeah.
That may be pushing the limits. Also, when you transmit without an antenna, so I have my antenna plugged in back here.
It goes out to that
it goes out to the tall one.
Okay.
If you transmit without an antenna, it really messes up. I mean, you're dealing with really tiny signals.
Okay.
Like it's going through all the processing, all of that, so it's getting smaller almost every time.
Okay.
So you need several amplifiers, and the final RF amplifier can get damaged when you transmit without an antenna.
Gotcha.
So just don't try to
aware
transmit.
Of that. That's right. Okay.
I used to think that was fun on my walkie-talkie. I would take off the antenna. Hey, it looks like a phone.
Yeah. But that's not good.
But that's not good for the thing. I later on learned.
Learn that.
Settings. It'd take a while to learn all of these.
We'll drop a link for this down below, and you can
along with all the specs.
Yeah, you can check that out.
That.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, because I definitely couldn't be able to share all that information. So appreciate it. Well, it has been helpful for you guys, and if you have questions about what we looked at today, the President George, or anything like that, please drop those down below, and maybe my son will answer your questions. But thanks so much for your support, and we'll see you on the next video.